Can Koby beat Garp? A question that has raced through many One Piece fans' minds ever since the release of the latest English dub episodes, and far, far beyond that, back when this was originally released in the manga. And it's hardly an unwarranted question given that Koby is supposed to be Garp's successor, and many hopes are riding on him even now. So let's take a brief look at the skill sets of both and see exactly where this could end up being. First of all, I do think we have to look at Garp first because he's the benchmark for Koby to have to surpass. And boy, do I think that Koby could have a harder one to stack up against, because in terms of his legacy, Garp is arguably one of the strongest One Piece characters within the whole series. So the thing you have to consider is that Garp essentially started his career as a nobody because he didn't come from a great lineage. But he worked way past that, even going so far as to use battleships as his literal punching bags to further train his strength. And I do mean strength too, because this isn't about training his haki and he has no devil fruit. I'm talking about just sheer muscle and ability to hit things. And beyond the man's insane training schedule, he pretty much has one of the most feared reputations in the whole One Piece universe, going toe-to-toe with legends not only like Garp and Rocksteady Zebek, but also even people like Don Jinjiao, whose Dragon Nail ability allowed him to crack a continent in half to be able to bury and unbury his treasure. A person whom, may I remind you, Garp managed to dent his head and break his perfect drill technique. And of course, arguably Garp's greatest achievements happened at God Valley, where he is responsible alongside Roger and his pirates for fending off the Rocks Pirates. And while never fully explained, a number of the Rocks Pirates were captured, and we probably would attribute one of these to Garp. Which one is difficult to say. There's no record, at least not right now, but it's probably easy to say that he wouldn't be able to beat Rocks, but he could probably beat somebody like Kaido. And then even after all of these feats, Garp has managed to stay in the Navy all the way up to 78 years old, and was the Navy's primary deterrent right out there alongside the Free Admirals. So that's a pretty impressive benchmark. But it's not like Koby doesn't have any sense of skills or even achievements of his own to compare against this. For one thing, he did manage to survive being Alvida's cabin boy, and while I know that doesn't sound impressive, the fact he survived a situation that most civilians probably couldn't is impressive in and of itself. He is somebody that has met Monkey D. Luffy, which is usually an indication that you have more potential than most people tend to realize. And upon joining the Navy, his commitment and bravery to his fellow man is pretty much what inspired Garp to take him on as a protege. And while he didn't necessarily do anything hyper special at Marineford, he is essentially the reason that so many people ended up living, because he pretty much tried to stop Akainu. And while he was not able to fully stop him on his own, he did buy the necessary seconds for Shanks to show up and effectively put the war to an end. This was also where he unlocked his own observation haki, which has to be a record for something, because usually observation haki is only unlocked in the most special of times. And then this was further harnessed throughout the 2-year time skip to the point he was able to use it at the Rocky Port incident, which is pretty much where he got named as the new hero of the Navy. And while details on this event are still kind of sketchy, with Oda giving us only the barest glimpses into what actually happened here, we do know that it was essentially a three-way battle: Trafalgar Law, the Navy, and then Blackbeard, who all ended up on Pirate Island and essentially tussled with the remaining pirate faction there. Koby was instrumental in this battle because he essentially was the reason that any civilians located in the area that were being used as hostages, survived. And with the latest anime releases, we now have the confirmation that he has Honesty Impact, which is essentially like a light version of Garp's Galaxy Impact. And the reason I didn't go over Garp's move list is because Galaxy Impact is the only thing we've actually seen him use that has a named move to it. The rest of his moves are just throwing things or punches, so it's pretty much the same thing. This is the only major attack that he has. That having been said, it's a pretty important attack, and the fact Koby can mimic it at all is very impressive. Does this mean Koby will be able to surpass Garp and become the actual next hero? I think so. He's proven enough dedication to be able to unlock the full bounds of haki and his physical body, and with that and his given age, it definitely makes sense that he will be able to hit Garp's level in his prime. However, Helmeppo will ever have the same aura as Bogart remains to be seen, but I'll leave that for you to debate down in the comments.